Oh, it's recording. Okay. Hi guys, I'm Stacy, and I don't really usually do the video scene, but I felt like it was necessary because what I'm going to talk about today is the final installment of the Divergent trilogy, Allegiant. So, right now, first I'm gonna say spoilers ahead, spoilers. Yeah, okay. If you have not read one or two or all three of these books, don't watch this video. Turn off the video, hit the pause button, exit your browser, turn off your computer, and go read it, pretty much. You can't not. Don't be one of those losers that just goes to see the movie, because both are going to be awesome. Both are worth the experience. 10 out of 10 would recommend, except where the problem comes in. This lovely book is heart-wrenching, absolutely devastating, completely unfair. So, to complete what I was saying earlier, I'm about to discuss some of the disturbing, crushing, disintegrating, destructive, awful things that happen in this book. So, if you don't want to spoil it for yourself, I mean, you're your own person. If you want to be like that, go ahead, watch it, get it all spoiled. But if you don't, just stop watching. So, here we go. Obviously, everybody is all worked up about the one thing, the thing that happens in Allegiant. Pretty much, it's the only thing that happens in Allegiant. That's what I want to talk about. So, basically, this book is, it's gotta be my least favorite. Okay, Divergent will always be my favorite. I really like the idea of the city, even if it's totally corrupt and messed up. I really like the concept. I keep waving this around. I'm gonna set this down now. I really like the concept, and I really got bummed out when it started to expand. I know universes need to expand, and we need to have our characters have some sort of existential crisis and discover who they are and die. But I really just like the Divergent world, so I write about what happens in the Divergent world a lot, inside the fence. Doesn't matter what's outside. So basically what we need to do right now is talk about the overall book, and then we'll go into some details. So in preparation to talk about the book, or if you're going to read it, you're probably going to need to get your cookie dough. I was eating this before, actually. I didn't pull it out for the video. You might also want some, cuddly animals, some nice candles, anything that'll make you feel better, really, when your heart is being ripped out of your chest. Like, somebody reaches down in your mouth, down your throat, grabs your heart, and just, pulls it out, and is like, oh, you don't need this. You don't need it. It hurts. Just, that's what this book does to you. So, overall, like I just said 2 seconds ago, it's my third favorite of all of them. I definitely like Divergent the best. And aside from the whole fence opening, world expanding, main character dying, leaving behind other main character to stumble over his own feet sort of thing, it was just slow. I feel like in Divergent, I couldn't put it down, and I was like, whoa! And then in Insurgent, it was like, whoa! And then in Allegiant, it was like, whoa! There is a difference. Yeah, I mean, I feel like, although the words are the same, you can interpret what I'm saying here in saying that this book is just, it wasn't very action-packed. It feels like Veronica Roth just forgot to put all of this info that we need to know prior to coming out of the fence, and she was like, oh, well, I forgot this before, we gotta know this, so let's just spill it all out. Let's just shove a book full of knowledge down their throat about this world. She could have written in a whole other book, how they have the Hunger Games guide, Shadowhunter's Codex or whatever, totally copying Harry Potter, by the way, all that kind of stuff. feel like you could have just a whole guidebook on the world outside of this fence. And she tried to cram it in there, and it ended up just being the whole story. And so I didn't like that very much. And another thing I did not like, at some point we can talk about things I did like. There are a few. They're not that many. It definitely outweighs, yeah. So we could talk about, I didn't like David. And obviously you weren't supposed to like David, but that's not what I mean. I mean, I didn't like how if they killed off one villain and were like, but this is the real bad guy. Like, there's no evidence that, I mean, you just are told what he did, and I'm gonna be real with you. I haven't finished the book yet. I know what happened. It got spoiled for me. I kind of partially spoiled it for myself. I was kind of suspicious. I was like, well, she confirmed that Tobias wasn't gonna die, so what is the big deal? Why is everyone crying and, I'm never gonna heal, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, 2 points of view. Oh, shit. Oh. So then after that, I was pretty glum. I went and Googled it. I saw the words, Tris Pryor is dead, on some crappy review. And I was like, oh, so I was right. And I mean, I had already assumed it, and I was almost sure that I was right. So I mean, it was already in my head. But, you know, when it's not the same when it's confirmed. So as soon as there was no going back, I was just like, oh. And I just broke into sobs, and I was a wreck for like 3 days. And I took this picture of myself a couple days after. It was a dragging day. I woke up in the morning. I took a shower. My whole thoughts in the shower were like, I wonder what Tobias is like right now. That Tris is dead. Does he talk to her before he goes to sleep in his thoughts? Does he, like, mourn over her? Does he still pretend that she's there? Like, all this depressing stuff. And so I took this picture and I was like, let's turn it into a funny opportunity. Post it as a selfie on Tumblr. But this is actually, there was no posing, no setup. This is how, look at that. Look at that face. I was in despair, as I'm sure many of you are / were, because it's not an easy thing. I guess we're rolling right into Tris's death. It's not, wow. I mean, clearly a strong choice on Veronica's behalf. You don't just kill your main character for no reason. And I did see the reason for that, and I did see the patterns that led up to it. And I was just at a Q&A event in San Francisco to see her last Thursday, so exactly a week ago. And she said one of the questions was, what's the message that you want your readers to take away? And she admitted that she doesn't like to put morals in her books because she's not a preacher. She doesn't think that she's a good source. She doesn't think that she has the right to preach to so many people and tell them how to live their lives, because she said that she's not a very good role model, which I disagree with. She's an excellent role model. However, she is allowed to be self-deprecating if she so desires. I'm just not going to support it. So, but yeah, so she doesn't like, she didn't really think about the message that she didn't really mean to put in there, but it was still in there, that she was giving to all these young girl readers when she killed Tris. And I don't think it's saying like, oh, Tris died, so you should die. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I really mean is that Tris is such a strong, brave character, and I mean, like, people look up to role models like her. Katniss Everdeen is a definite example of just like these strong characters that don't need anyone. They don't need the boy. They don't need to be super big and strong and have superpowers or any of that. They're real people, and they're real girls that have the same struggles as normal teenage girls. And on top of that, all these, like, super struggles that they overcome, and they're badass, and it's awesome. And it's totally great to have a role model like that, to kind of, like, want to model yourself after. And I think that when you take that role model and you kill her, a lot of people are left, like, oh, what? So there's definitely that aspect. I mean, for me, it was absolutely devastating. I was still in, like, not even maybe the 100 pages in to Allegiant when I had discovered the true tragedy that has everybody sobbing over themselves eternally on the internet. And I couldn't focus. I had to put down the book for a couple days. I thought that I wasn't gonna finish it. Now I'm going through it very slowly. It's been over a week and I'm not even halfway done because protesting. It's so hard to see all these scenes where Tris and Tobias are so, and they love each other, and she's gonna die, and you know it, so how do you enjoy that? So yeah, I just think that although there is no real symbolism and all that, and Tris definitely died for a reason. I mean, she's always saying, oh, I'm selfish, oh, I'm selfish. Well, she died like the bravest, most selfless death you can. So it's definitely held true to everything. However, I feel as if it didn't have to end that way. And she did say that her publisher, when she had written the outlines for both Insurgent and Allegiant, pretty much the only thing that stayed the same is that Tris dies in the end. So I think she maybe got stuck on that idea because that's the only thing she was told okay, so she built it around that. But I do think that there was an alternate way. Don't ask me what it is. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I mean, anything's possible, right? So, wow, this is turning out to be a really long video. We're going to chop a lot of stuff this out. Anyway, the next thing I want to talk about is the 2 point of views. I did not like that at all. I think that Tobias, when I was reading his chapters, I would read them forgetting that it was him, because he sounds so much like Tris, which I think is more, not so much that he and Tris think alike, I think it has to do with Veronica was like, well, Tobias has got to tell the story because Tris is gonna die. I mean, I'm sure there are a couple other reasons that he was telling the story, but I think that she was kind of pushed into, okay, Tobias's point of view, and then started putting on her Tris blinders and writing as Tris. There's a point where I would get halfway or all the way through Tobias chapters and be like, that wasn't Tris. That was that was Tobias talking. That was 4 right there. So it was kind of difficult. I think that she blended them into each other, and I don't think that they would think that way. So I think that she kind of blurred the lines. Although, as long as we're talking about blurred lines, consent is not that, by the way. We don't support Robin Thicke. But she did, Veronica Roth, in fact, blur the lines of personality between Tobias and Tris. And I think that also may be why Tobias is acting all kind of not himself this book. A lot of people are saying, like, he feels broken because he's out of the fence and he's not special anymore and he doesn't know what to do because there's all this stuff that he didn't know before. And I'm like, it's okay. I don't think that's why. I think if you think about how Tobias is such a strong character, he's so, I mean, obviously he has his weaknesses with Marcus and the way that he feels about his mom and the confliction between siding with Tris and Evelyn and the city or outside of the fence and abnegation or dauntless because he doesn't think he deserves either one and all of this stuff. And you have to just think, past all that, Tobias is really strong. He's really smart. He's really suspicious of everything. He even says that in the first book. 2 things you gotta know about 4. Really good with computers. Suspicious of all people. Ever. So that's why I find it incredibly hard to believe that these strangers walk in and are like, you aren't special. And he's like, I'm not special? Oh, I'm not divergent. No, that's not what 4 would do. 4 would be like, who the hell are you to tell me I'm not divergent? And he would, you know, he's not going to let it shake him. And I mean, obviously I'm not the creator, so I don't have the official say, but I think that that's more of a Tris thing. Tris is very obstinate and arrogant herself, but I think that was more fitting to her character than his. And then the whole Nita thing, I haven't even read all of it yet, but I'm being told he partakes in some kind of genetically damaged rebellion or something, and Tris is like, what the heck for? I told you not to do that. And he was like, I'm damaged, blah, 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 blah. Whatever, okay? I don't think that's him at all. It just doesn't seem like him. So I really didn't like that at all. I did like what I'm hearing about the end. I'm reviewing a book I didn't even freaking read all the way through. I did like how they had him respond to Tristan's death. I think that was very Tobias. I think that was correct. And heartbreaking. But, however, I think that despite all this, the book was just slow, and overall, the book was mostly like, let me feed you all this information about what's going on, when in reality, I mean, you stand around, and then Tris dies, and then, yep, maybe I'm wrong, because I've only read, like, can you see that much? Yeah, haven't read that much, but I just, from what I'm hearing, and from what I'm reading, it's all information, and then Tris sacrifices herself for her brother, who, okay, that's one last thing. Okay, we found the last thing I want to talk about. Tris dies in place of Caleb to save Caleb, and I understand that she got past the death serum, which Caleb wouldn't have been able to do, so really she did save the day, kind of, and she or some other Divergent person was the only person who really could, because obviously the genetically damaged or whatever people can't manipulate the serums, and hence would have been killed before they could even get anything done inside the weapons room, weapons lab. But I do think, so Tris, the death was necessary for that. The situation could have been changed, I believe. But what do I know? I don't like that she died for Caleb. I think that Tris, honestly, I don't think she should have forgiven him. I don't think they're talking about the ultimate sacrifice for her family, when I think that really conflicts with what she said in Insurgent, when she's in the bathtub with Tobias, and she's like, all my family are dead or traitors, and he says, I'll be your family now. Tobias is her family. I don't think Caleb deserves that title, even no matter what he does in this book that I haven't read about yet. I don't think he can do anything to earn it back. If he obviously has some, like, genetic lack of, like, sympathy slash, like, compassion for his own sister, that he can watch her be tortured, I don't think that he can ever change if it's in his genes, although I do think they overdo, the people clearly put more credit to genes than they actually, you know, have. People are people. It doesn't just have to do with genes, but still, I think that, personally, I don't think Caleb would have changed, and the fact that Tris sacrificed herself for him, although I think it did her parents' honor, I think if she were to sacrifice herself for someone, it would have been more fitting for Tobias, but then again, that also would not have worked, because he'd be like, no. And also, he could manipulate simulations, so maybe he could have done it, but who knows. I think that truly he was her only family, and I'm not talking about, oh, extended family, Evelyn, Marcus too. No, he was her family. They were the only ones who loved each other, they were the only ones who deserved each other. I don't think Caleb was a good trade-off. Why? I don't think that was worth it. And, I mean, Caleb ends up not being so bad in the end or something, I'm hearing, but still, like, so that's my review of this book, this lovely book, that I have personalized and signed, which is kind of a bummer because it is my least favorite of the bunch, but in case you were curious about that, there it is. Pretty cool. Waited 2 hours for her to write my name in. But yeah, this is a sad book. This is lots of tears, and I had to wait a while to do this video because aside from the fact that I don't know how to make videos. We're gonna have to figure out how to cut this next. I was just so broken up, which is ridiculous because nobody gives you sympathy over a dead character. They're like, oh, it's just not real. So on that note, saying that it's not real, for those of you who are still hurting, I have two things to say to you. The first is that I do write fan fiction as if, like I mentioned earlier, inside the fence. They don't know what happened. The simulation attack, Insurgent, Allegiant, no, that didn't happen. So if you want to read about Happy Fortress hanging out in the Dauntless compound, scaring the crap out of new initiates, partaking in shenanigans, eating cake, never really got that joke, but yeah. So if you would like to see all that, I'm either posting it on that vlog where I'm going to have the fanfiction, or I will have a link to it in the comments. This is not YouTube, this is Tumblr, because I don't have a YouTube account, because I don't make videos, so I really apologize for this. But, yeah, so that is my take on that. And number two, I was thinking of a really cool concept, and I've already made a text post about this, however, my Divergent vlog is fairly new, so not a lot of people saw it. I just want you guys to know, I was thinking about this thing that made it really comforting. All fiction is fiction, right? So if you say something that's not true, it's one-dimensional, it's not true. And you can make up your entire universe, and anyone, okay, how do I put this? There is no half-true, half-lie kind of thing. There are mixes of fiction and non-fiction, but you can separate them. You get what I'm saying? There's fiction and there's non-fiction. Divergent is fiction. Everything in these books is not true. And since it's not true, there's no proof for anything, there's no evidence, there's no real recollection because it's completely false. So although it's written in the text, if you don't like the end of Allegiant, which, I mean, if you understand it and you accept it, that's great. Pretty sure nobody likes the ending. If you don't like it, you can change it. That's what I'm doing. Write whatever you want, and conceptually it's as true as whatever Veronica writes, because it's not a true story, right? So I just found that kind of comforting, that whatever happens in the fictional universe, you dictate it. So that is kind of comforting for those of you who don't want to say goodbye to Tris just yet. You don't have to. So with that said, I'm Stacy, aka Tobias, lots of Tobias URLs, aka Talking Avox, aka Spoopy Avox. Happy Halloween. We'll be changing back tomorrow. And that is my review of Allegiant. I'm gonna go